guys, it's Pam, your tattoo artist and your buddy, and in this video I'm going to be talking about, does my tattoo need a touch-up? And other little things like the risk of teeny tiny tattoos. Most of the time you'll know your tattoo needs a touch-up immediately after it's finished healing that 2 weeks. Before I go into this, it's really important to note that even if you and your tattoo artist do everything perfectly, you could still need a touch-up. Skin is a living but also ever dying and changing organ, and it's not paper, and eventually your tattoos are going to change and fade and feather, and it's just the nature of it. It's life, and sometimes you could do everything perfectly and still need a touch-up. Everyone's skin is different, and there are so many factors involved in whether or not a tattoo is going to heal properly, or how well it's going to heal, how well it's going to sit in the skin, how long it's going to last. The nature of skin is that it's imperfect, so your tattoo is probably going to be imperfect as well. So look at your tattoo from a reasonable distance, and you're looking for things like gaps in line work or in color shading, things that look like the artist may have missed a spot, and typically these will arise when you get scabbing, and that will kind of pull out ink sometimes, but it happens. This is extremely common on finger tattoos. It's a lot of the reason why most artists won't do finger tattoos. I usually won't do finger tattoos, especially on the side or inside. The nature of the skin is just, it doesn't want it. It doesn't want to be tattooed. It doesn't want to hold the ink, and sometimes no matter how many times you get it touched up, it's not going to stay. And the nature of them is such that the artist cannot guarantee the quality of work when it comes to those types of tattoos. So just please respect your artist's wishes not to do them. So for example, my husband and I both have these finger heart tattoos. We got them as like a substitute for wedding bands, and you can kind of see on the side here that it sort of needs a touch up. I never got it done just because I don't really care that much. But when it was done, this used to be a perfect gradient of color, and pretty much immediately after that 2-week healing period, it looked like this. So when dealing with lines of tattoos, typically the thicker the line, the more even it's going to look over time, and the thinner the line, the more easy it's going to be to spot imperfections or just have imperfections. It's just the nature of it. There's nothing you can do about it. I could tattoo something perfectly with a single needle, but that single needle tattoo is more than likely, I could probably guarantee it's going to need a touch up immediately, and then also down the road. And listen, I know that you've seen, girl, I know you've seen those teeny tiny tattoos on Instagram and on Pinterest. So you go to your tattoo artist and you say, this can be done, do it. That tattoo artist is probably gonna tell you no. I know that there are people who seem to specialize in these teeny tiny fine line work tattoos, but the nature of it is just that it's just not a good idea. It can be done, but it just probably shouldn't be. Earlier on in my career, I was like, I can make things that small. I can make it that small. That's not hard. I draw things small and I'll tattoo it small. And then I saw it a year or two later, and I should not have made it that small. Even after a short period of time, like a year or so, the ink will already start to feather and blur, and it's just, you can't keep it from happening. And there's not really anything that you can do to touch it up. A lot of times, the more ink you add, the thicker and thicker it's gonna be. So the longevity of teeny tiny tattoos just is not sustainable. I see trends on Instagram and Pinterest where like people will get portraits of their pet or flowers or whatever like this big with no black, and it's such a bad idea. It's just so bad because it's just gonna look like, what's that weird blotch on your arm? It's not gonna look like it does when it's fresh. And when you're looking at these artists' portfolios, it's important to see if they're posting healed photos of their tattoos, and not just 2 weeks later, but a year plus out. Like, I want to see these tattoos down the road. You gotta have that contrast. You've gotta have just that, you gotta just at least have a little black in your tattoo to sustain the design over time and just protect that design. So here's an example I found online. This girl posted this YouTube video of her tattoo that she got from this shop that specializes in these micro tattoos and charged her like a lot of money. So here's a picture of this girl's tattoo, the day that she got it and then a year later. I think she paid like $2,100 for this tattoo. And it's like this big, and she took such good care of it, but after a year it already just completely lost all of its definition because there's no black in this tattoo. And no matter how dark of a color you use, I've tried to use very dark colors as outlines, and color just fades and feathers so much faster than black. It just behaves differently. It's just the nature of the ink in the skin, and it's science, and I don't know what else to tell you. And the more you get a tattoo touched up, the more it's gonna be just like scar tissue, and it's just not, it's not sustainable. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know you want one really bad. I know you do, but you just can't, sometimes you just can't have what you want, and this is just one of those things. Here's an example of something that I tattooed really small, and I know in the photo it's kind of hard to tell the size, but it's about, it can't be more than 3 inches wide. I think it's like closer to 2 inches. I did it with a really small needle, and it doesn't look bad, but it just, you can kind of start to see that feathering and what happens to teeny tiny lines and the imperfections that are way more noticeable. But this would still be considered, I think, a successful heal. Like, there's going to be imperfections, so you don't want to look at it under a microscope, because no matter how many times I touch something up, it's always going to have those imperfections because your skin's not perfect. I hope this video helped. If you have any additional questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below, and I'll try to answer them as best that I can. Bye!